On a track that the legendary Hans Stuck once said was by far and away his most favorite North American racing venue, it is time for the GT3 machines, the top class of the Blancpain GT World Challenge America Championship, to take to the track for qualifying here at Sonoma Raceway. Hi everybody, Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in pit lane as we are set for qualifying, and again split into two groups. Qualifying session for the starting driver in the first race, and then there'll be a brief pause, and then the starting driver for the second race will get in the car and do their qualifying session. And the speeds of these cars here are just remarkable, Cal. We've seen it all season long, but now they are mastered up with a great technical challenge in this racetrack.
They really are, and they're going to be needing every ounce of downforce that these GT3 cars provide their drivers, and surprised to see so many of the front runners stacked up with one another here on this outlap, as we now see Pirelli kind of backing off from his teammate there to try and create a bit of a gap so he doesn't get stymied.
You know, for all the other discussion we've been having about this track, it's not that long, is it? It's only 2.4 miles, so you get a sizable field. We have 19 entries here. It's easy to find little traffic if you're not careful.
It very much is, and you've really got to time that lap, because the peak performance from this Pirelli P0 on this racetrack that creates a lot of tire degradation is not very long. You've probably got about 2 or 3 laps to get the job done.
Interesting, in the 2 practice sessions yesterday, first practice it was the Allegra Porsches went 1-2, but found out that they had actually stickered up and some of the others hadn't. In the second session in the heat of the afternoon, Kyle Marcelli in the Racers Edge Motorsports Acura NSX actually ran a lap a little bit quicker, and so it's going to be interesting to see. Boy, compression right there. You see that little puff of smoke.
Yeah, he did, just rubbing on that front splitter. And some of that is down to just the load that you create up there through turn 1, plus the compression, plus the fact the tire pressures are not quite at their peak, which does affect the ground ride height clearance.
Those Bentley's fortunate because their pit stalls are right at pit out. Gave them the opportunity to lead away, so they for sure will have relatively clear track. I'm sure they talked a little bit about, you know, we need to know when you're going to go for your fast lap so that we can go and not stack up. And right now, in the number 9, this might actually be Suchek. They had done a late change in the driver order in this car, so even though it's showing Pirelli right now, it might be Suchek in the car.
Well, I think there's consideration. There's a handful of the drivers in this race this weekend who are going to be heading over to Le Mans, and I think there's thought process that for those drivers, you may want to get them in for the first stint tomorrow so they could leave the circuit a little bit earlier. Problem for Vilander and Molina, because
yeah, exactly.
they're sharing the same car. I'm not sure they're going to work that one out.
Nonetheless, here we go, coming through the number 9. But it's the number 3 of Baptista, but then number 9 goes to the top at a 38.52.
That's right at the mark that Kyle Marcelli laid down yesterday in the Acura NSX for the Racers Edge group. See that big bump there as they turn into 3A. That's the thing with these cars, they're carrying so much more speed, so much more downforce. The bumps around this race circuit are just magnified for these drivers compared to the other classes competing here this weekend.
And this car, the number 63, big off in yesterday's final afternoon session for David Askew. Came through turn 1, hit that bump, back end got away from him, and it just shot off to the left, got into the barriers as one of the 111 Ferraris running way wide. But the damage not as severe as it looked or could have been, certainly for this car. You can see a little bit different colored nose on it, but didn't get too deep into the chassis, and they were able to make repairs, the DXDT team did.
Skewers up on the wheel here.
Yeah,
Kevin Milstein, he just slides down underneath the 38 Porsche. That's the one thing I've been impressed with David Askew. He had that massive hit at Coda earlier this season, but he seems to be able to bounce back and put that behind him relatively quickly. Sometimes with a driver who has less experience, you have a big incident like that, can really sap your confidence, but for David, he seems to be able to rebound quickly.
On board here with George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike DXDT Mercedes, putting a pass on one of the Ferraris, trying to get a little clear track to be able to lay down a lap in this CrowdStrike machine.
Does that sound nice?
Using the full original layout for the turn 11 hairpin.
Molina jumps to the top. Tight championship coming in. They have a 1-point lead. Molina and Vilander over Brent and Suchek. That's not applause, that's the grab. Kissing the bottom of that chassis.
That run-up one is so fast and bumpy at the same time.
What a great camera angle this is.
There's a look at Molina.
A lot of questions from all of the teams about who had the upper hand here yesterday. Tire performance was so critical, so when you stick it up and in which session. So everyone came into this morning's qualifying session pretty much unsure who had the performance to grab the top spot, but right now it is Molina, and he's just gone personal best in Sector 1. Overall best Sector 2. This is another great lap for the Ferrari.
Well, we were up watching this car up through the twisty bits and the elevation change, as it always does. It just looks so well balanced. All right, here we go, Cal. Last significant corner. Looked like he picked up throttle nice and early.
I'd be surprised if this is not up on his previous best of a 37.6. There it goes, 3/10.
Yeah, big lap.
Look at the compression there. To see that rear diffuser just hitting the deck and grinding away on that carbon fiber.
You have that same level of compression right here, that turn in. He's off it now, realizing that was a good lap. You don't want to take too much out of the tires. Big lap behind him, the number 58, Wright Motorsports Porsche Consulting Porsche, Scott Hargrove, the Canadian young professional Porsche pilot, up into second, Cal, at a 37.8, pushing Baptista and Suchek, as we now get confirmed. And Suchek in the number 9, back a couple of spots.
Great lap here for Mike Headland, drafted into this car late in the going. Brett Curtis had some family commitments this weekend, as well as the team trying to work on his seating. Very tight in the race car, so Mike was brought in, and he knows this racetrack really well. Immediately on the pace, he's been running very close lap times to his teammate Dane Cameron, so that's a tremendous performance. And here he's very committed, leads the Pro-Am runners right now.
He hasn't really raced much this year at all. Did some racing last year in this championship. But going back and looking at things, I believe it was 2014, he had a top 4 finish here overall in GT in a Scuderia Corsa Ferrari. So you're right, he gets around this track well.
This is hurting him. This is hurting him. Milstein up ahead, I believe.
Once you get into these S's, difficult to pass here. That's one of the reasons they created that straight run into the chicane, so that you could make a pass.
I think that's going to hurt his middle sector there, unfortunately.
Yeah, significantly, I would think.
It'll be a good little battle here for the top spot amongst the Pro-Am runners. You got Imperato out there, he's been doing a great job. Bechtolsheimer coming off a victory at CTMP. Zafronis in the mix. Barkey, the championship leader.
Yeah, I mean, you think of what Zafronis did in 2017 and 2018 with a slew of championships in the category, and is comfortable in a GT3 Porsche, but he brings Dirk Werner as a partner. Let's see, this could be fun to watch Headland on this lap now that he's got lots of room.
Yeah, I think this is the key lap. I think if he has to wait any longer, he might lose the tire performance. He's got to somehow find a clear lap, not get stymied at all. Schmidt up ahead of him, possibly in the BMW.
Right, yeah.
It's amazing with these cars how aggressive you can be with a throttle application when the tires are good. Look at the elevation change, up and over the hill into the carousel.
Interesting to see how that lap plays out as we take a look here at Imperato now. Is the second of the Wright Motorsports Porsches. This is the Pro-Am pairing. This weekend, it's sort of every other race. He ends up either with Matt Campbell or Dennis Olsen. Both of them really stout. Look back at the Ferrari from Garage Italia of Cesar Baccarella. Not really sure. See some debris up on the nose of the 91. I wonder if he may have had it off somewhere, Cal.
Possibly.
A lot of grass clippings up on the top of that spoiler. Here, let's see what happens here.
Oh yeah, just gets it a little bit wrong through the S's. And that just highlights how demanding that sector of the racetrack is as well. So the Bentleys, everyone thought maybe the locally based Capex group had the upper hand, but right now it's Ferrari on Porsche on the front row. Bentley's lock out row 2 for now, but there's still some fast laps occurring.
Well, talking to that Capex team in this Bentley, the older generation Bentley, they said we would have been at nowhere here. The car, just the way it was built, just was not going to be good here. They said this version, the new generation, where they've moved the engine back and down, they've moved the seating position, changed everything to get that center of gravity more centered and lower. They said it's much better, but it's not as good as it was at other tracks. This car, we've been talking about it. I'm not sure there's a bad track for the Ferrari.
That's right. It's very much like the Mercedes in GT4. This car seems to be well suited. You can hear the conversation going on between Miguel Molina, who holds down that top spot. Split qualifying sessions again for the GT3 cars. So it'll be Tony Vilander taking over. Looks like Molina's work is done as he holds down that top spot. Top 4 on the grid right now, all in pit lane. Seems like they're satisfied or cannot go any faster.
So we're down into our final 3 minutes. There's a look at Hedlund. And, you know, if he hangs on where he does, Cal, 1, pole in the Pro-Am category and in front of Wolf Hensler.
Amazing.
After not having raced at all this year, this is just an amazing, as you said, performance by Hedlund.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Just seems to really have taken to this Acura NSX. They missed the final practice session yesterday with a clutch issue, so that hasn't helped their cause in terms of working on the setup. Talking to Dane Cameron this weekend, who leads the charge for this real-time team. He said, we just struggling a little bit with the setup. We just need a little bit more test time to really find the sweet spot to be challenging the faster Bentleys and Ferrari for the overall fast times, but they're still looking very good for a Pro-Am class win this weekend.
Hey, that was a great lap as well by Scott Hargrove. There's a few cars still staying out. One of them, one of the prettier cars on the racetrack, the number 14 Global Motorsports Group Thermal Club Porsche of Safronis.
It's a big debrief. I mean,
yeah,
Tony is asking a lot of questions. He really wants to know what the car is doing, what you can do, how hard you can push. This sticker run is like almost unknown territory for these drivers this weekend. Relatively low fuel and stickers on this racetrack. What can I do? What can I get away with? How hard are you pushing? How much commitment? Where are you grabbing gears?
Well, the interesting thing is, too, from the time Molina stopped to the time that Vilander gets out for that second session, it may only be 15 minutes. But this track changes so much with the sun beating down on the track that any information you have is going to be hugely helpful, isn't it?
And he's going to get a fresh set of Pirelli P0s. Not like they have to qualify on the same tires, so Tony have his set, which he can then start the race with tomorrow.
Right.
So maybe the teams can make slight adjustments there on the tire pressures as well if they feel like they peak one end or the other. Maintain the balance or just go overall higher or lower to get the tires to come in a little bit sooner or later in the run. Just the subtleties. You're just looking for a little bit. A little pinch of salt.
Well, one thing, when we were up and watching in those sessions, the Porsches, and yes, a couple of them had stickered up, so that just gave them more grip in general. But we talked about it before, with that engine right over those drive wheels, you watch as long as they got the car rotated right at the top of 2 and at the top of 3A, they could just pick the throttle up significantly sooner than anybody else, because they'd get that little extra bit of weight-induced grip. And Hargrove just gave it a ride.
Safronis there just beat the clock to be able to do one more lap. He said it's a big transition when you go from the GT4 Audi that he's sharing with Jason Bell this weekend in Sprint X competition to this GT3 machine. He said the car just reacts so much quicker. You just turn the wheel and boom, it turns in and looks for the corner immediately.
Nice to see this car back, the Torxen TR3 Racing Ferrari, and it ran at Circuit of the Americas, got a win in Pro-Am with Wei Lu, and Jeff Siegel has been absent since, in a sort of a neat program coming together with Patrick Byrne and Guy Cosmo, reigning Asian, or last year's Asian Le Mans GT LMP3 champions and second in the LMP2 category most recently, and it's nice to see them back in this program.
It really is, and they're really impressed with that TR3 organization. They say Gregory Romanelli runs an awesome operation, and I think they're very happy with their pace and what they're feeling within the team, and hopefully we'll see more of them for future rounds this year as well as next.
Yeah, it'd be great if we do, that's for sure. Meanwhile, Ryan Marine is caught up with our provisional pole sitter.
Yes, it looks like pole position for Miguel Molina for race number 1. How did the Ferrari handle during your time out there?
Yeah, it was a really good session for me. The car felt straight away quite positive, much better than yesterday. We couldn't put new tires yesterday to compromise the weekend, so we were a bit blind for the qualifying. But actually the car worked perfect, and to score this pole position is always important here in Sonoma, especially to start the race in the front row. Is a racetrack where it's difficult to overtake, so it would be very good to start there. So actually I'm happy.
We saw you several times go up to Tony, even once he had got in the car, to give him that little bit of extra information. What were you telling him to prepare him for his qualifying for race 2?
Yeah, like I said yesterday, we couldn't experience the new tires, so I tried to give him as much as information possible. And actually also the gears are changing in the track, because we are like 3 seconds faster than yesterday. So I tried to give my experience, and that's all. Now it's his turn.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miguel Molina on pole for race 1.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan. That's a very good point, isn't it, Cal? When you stick her up, you go to throttle sooner, everything happens differently, changes your gear ratios.
Sometimes
and
you may have been going through a corner where you're very high in the RPM as you're finishing that corner. Well, Miguel will be telling Tony, you can actually take that corner in a gear higher. The grip is there, the rolling speed is higher. So, like he said, it's such a different delta. 3 seconds faster, that's a massive amount in racing terms between one day and the next with that fresh Pirelli P0 today. They only get 4 fresh new sets a weekend plus 2 carryover sets. I believe the Porsche runners may have got an extra set. That's why we saw the Porsches run at the top the timesheets yesterday, because they damaged some tires at CTMP. So tires are super critical here.
Absolutely, and temperature from morning to afternoon. It's huge swings as well, and you put those two together, it's massive. As you take a look here at the provisional qualifying and starting lineup for the first of the double headers on the weekend. Quick little pause here, and then we get the rest of them out. And that's huge to have that driver that's just been in the car get in. It's not like they had a practice session this morning to get out before qualifying. So to give them every ounce of information that is possibly available there, and take a look at the rest of the results here. Now change is over, and the next group of drivers get in. Technically, if you are running a Pro-Am category, it would be the lower rated of the drivers that would be out in that first part of the session, the higher rated driver coming out now. Of course, in Pro, they're generally both rated awfully highly, so it's interesting to see how that plays out. But I think because of what we were talking about, a couple of the teams had to change their lineups because of people needing to head overseas.
Yeah, every minute, every hour counts in terms of getting over there. They're not competing at Le Mans. The test day was last weekend. Right. They have to be there for scrutineering, and the organizing body doesn't like to give you a lot of leeway in that. So you need to get over to Europe as quickly as possible.
And speaking of legendary 24-hour races, we have a number of drivers in this paddock that are going to be racing the Spa 24, probably the world's greatest GT 24-hour race, bar none. And that Ferrari right in front in this shot's one of them that's going.
Yes, they are. Scuderia Corsa are going to be running Cesar Baccarella and Martin Fuentes.
And we were talking about just the stunning run that Mike Hedlund put together for the pole in Pro-Am. Ryan, what a story.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story indeed. Mike Hedlund, you didn't know you were going to be in this car until what, like a week ago?
No, I didn't know until Wednesday afternoon, actually. Yeah, it just came together at the last minute. Peter sent me a text, and I was like, yeah, of course I'd come. And then the ladies in registration helped me out, so I got my license all taken care of really quick. And was here Thursday morning, ready to go.
So from the couch to pole position in class, doesn't get much better than that. I know you have a lot of experience at this track, but this is a new car, a new team. You haven't been racing a whole lot this year, if at all. So what are your emotions?
I'm excited. I was a little worried I was going to be too rusty because I haven't driven a car since November of last year. And I was actually at my office when I found out I was going to be here. So I had to, you know, do a little exercise and that kind of stuff, make sure I would fit in the suit and the car and everything. But the car is really good. A lot of the GT3 cars are strong, but the Acura NSX, it's really easy, especially for a gentleman driver like myself. I could just jump in and I was ride away within a second or two of Dane, and he's pretty good. So I was happy about that on Thursday.
I'd say so. Well, congratulations, a fantastic effort in qualifying. Best of luck in the race.
Thank you.
So my guess is got the phone call Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, trim the beard.
Lost a pound.
Exactly. Neaten that right up here. Number 3 just hanging here just a little bit.
Well, you either want to be out first or probably wait at least a minute and make sure you're uninterrupted on this run.
Well, this is going to be an interesting one because in the Pro-Am combos now you get the drivers that are pretty good, like Dane Cameron.
He's had a pretty good couple of months.
Yes. He's one of those, like I used to say about Mike Skeen, one of America's best kept secrets. So good. So Parent now in the number 9. See what he can muster, and boy, you know, you look back at that pole position run he put on at CTMP. That was just magic stuff. He's capable.
He really is. I mean, he did it on numerous occasions with the McLaren, and then even since the Bentley switch, he's now the man to wring the last ounce out of this performance. Don't hear that Bentley hitting the deck like we heard from George Kurtz's on board with Mercedes. It's just tough to see that outside lane. So either the grip wasn't there or he overcommitted and just ran a little bit wide, had to wait on the throttle. Now he's backing off. Sees the traffic up ahead, had a little feel for the car, what the balance is. Now it's all about timing the run. So you'll have felt that little run through 3 and realize, you know what, the front end or whatever it was not giving me the grip. He'll make some mental adjustments for that.
Look at these patches. There's one. There's one. I mean, they literally just sort of target those. As I said, it's just the amount of grip they offer up relative to the rest of the track. It just sort of guides you through the corner sometimes.
So short shifting through here. This is not commitment. You see Vilander up ahead. He's backed off as well. So this means that Brent's really got to back off here. He doesn't want to run up on Tony and lose his aero. Cat and mouse game here right now to make sure you don't get stymied. Last thing he wants is for Vilander to really back up to him to start his lap, and that's exactly what's happening. Oh, this is dodgy. Vilander saw the Bentley, didn't want to give him the inside lane.
As you said, you get too close, you lose the air in the nose, you're not fast, period.
This is not good news for Ren. It's going to really make it challenging, particularly if he's quicker than Tony.
Yeah.
Vilander just trying to back up, and then saw that Bentley on a big run, and I think Brent was committed to getting it down the inside to start his lap. That would have ruined the start of Tony's lap, so he couldn't afford to give him that lane.
Meanwhile, Cameron in the number 43 went to the top. Now Mike Skeen filling in for Ryan Dial in the number 63. DXDT Usalco Security National Mortgage Mercedes goes to the top at a 38.7. Cameron second at a 38.8. Then Andy Lally making his debut in a Ferrari GT 3488. The number 19 111 car jumps up into third, now displaced by Leah Fouge.
Good stories here this weekend. Some new players in town. Lally driving a Ferrari for the first time, or racing one at least. Dirk Werner's here in the paddock, running for GMG, and James Safrona's TR3 with Patrick Byrne, Guy Cosmo, Skeen filling in for DL, who's at his best friend's wedding. I'm not sure he's best friend anymore if he has to miss a race.
And especially at Sears Point.
I know. And obviously we spoke to Mike Hedlund, so.
Yeah, really good stories. Boy, everybody coming up into some traffic now, aren't they?
Well, it's all the name of the game. It's not just about pressing the pedals. You got to make the right choices and find that space.
Kyle Marcelli, who topped one of the practice sessions right now, is 18th. And
watch for Vilander. Purple all the way through, Greg.
Yeah, all right. Soule just goes there to 38.2 to provisional. Vilander.
Nice.
37 flat, Cal.
That's quicker than Molina. I think Molina was, what, 37.3?
Yes.
So that little info and a fresh set of Pirelli P0s has allowed Tony Vilander to bring even a little bit more performance out of the Ferrari. Parent nearly a second back. That's a huge margin.
And you'd think, I mean, I think Parent was close enough that he was feeling some of the effects from the aero wash of the car in front. That's going to have frustrated him. A great run for Skeen, sitting third at a 38.1. Soule, the number 3 Bentley, at a 38.2 for fourth, as we're watching Matt Campbell, the guy who turned Bathurst on its ear late in the going with that fabulous run.
He was almost lighting up those rears coming off there.
They got that TC dialed back a little bit. Here we go. It's currently 13th overall. What does he do?
Nice.
Second, 37.07 to Vilander's 37.01.
Purple sector 1, 2/10 up on Tony Vilander's sector 1. So Ken Campbell surprise Ferrari and steal this pole for the second race. What an impressive young man.
Isn't he?
Whew. He is committed.
This should be fun to watch. There's that run now down into 6th. Car darty, dancing, floated a little wide there.
Well, he's gone purple. Oh, this is a massive first sector. Half a second quicker than Vilander. We saw the commitment down into turn 4. This is a big, big lap.
Just wonder if that run, he ran wide in the carousel, if that's going to hurt him a little bit. If it didn't, huge lap potentially. Watch for it on the monitors.
Whoa.
Another purple.
Yeah, I tell you what, for a driver who has won at Bathurst, he's not going to be intimidated by
Yeah, exactly.
Sonoma Raceway, even though it is extremely challenging. This is a big, big lap he's got on board here. He only needs to find 0.06 of a second. He's got a lot more than that in his hand right now.
Through the second sector, up by almost half a second. Here we go, last turn. Campbell at a 37.07. What does he turn this time?
Boom.
36.672. Pole. Yeah. Matt Campbell.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
And I think he may have had a little bit more in it. He ran wide in 6 just a bit, almost up into the gray. Never did get it quite to the apex. And still, to put up that kind of a time, that was pretty mega. Pat Long now jumps up to 3rd, Cal, in the 58 team car. The Porsche Consulting Right Motorsports entry.
Yeah, so Porsche is strong here this weekend. So Hargrove put his car on the front row that he shares with Pat Long. So Pat's going to need to find almost 3/10 though to jump on that front row as Vilander is sitting there at 137.0.
Yeah, look who's right behind Long. 14 of Werner right here. This car, the beautiful blue and orange and white GMG Thermal Club entry. How about Michael De Quesada? Number 22 Allegra car. Another great run by this young man.
Yeah, I spoke to Daniel Moret about Michael's performance. He said he has got immense speed. Just needed to calm him down at the beginning of the year, but he said the speed is not a problem. The biggest surprise of this session is Dane Cameron down in 11th.
And Marcelli as well, I think.
Yeah, because Marcelli led the timesheets late yesterday. I think that was on a sticker run, but nonetheless,
yeah.
I thought both of those Acura NSX drivers would be towards the sharper end.
Patrick Byrne had a little bit of an off yesterday, and there was a little damage to that TR3 car, but look at the job Cosmo's done here. 8th overall, 4th in Pro-Am. Again, as you pointed out, ahead of Cameron, ahead of Braun, ahead of Marcelli. So a nice run by Guy Cosmo.
You'd think, okay, there's still 5 minutes to go, but the key is just tire pressure-wise and tire performance-wise, can any of these guys put in a late flyer? We haven't seen it happen very often today.
Yeah, and I mean, this track, the drop-off, once the deg hits, it just drops off. It isn't subtle, is it?
No, it's huge. I mean, talking to some of the drivers, it's like 2 seconds within half a dozen laps. Soulé down in 10th as well. So Bentley on their home turf, 7th and 10th in this session. That's a surprise.
So currently Campbell in the number 91 Wright Motorsports Porsche, 0.3 plus up over the 61 Ferrari of Vielander, who's got a 1/4 of a second to Long in the 58 Wright Motorsports entry. Then about 0.2 back to Werner, the number 14, and then De Quesada in the 22 Allegra Porsche. Another 1/4 of a second. That's fairly telling, isn't it, Cal? In the top 5 right now, you've got 4 Porsches.
Yeah, but that lap from Campbell is a monster lap. I mean, he's 0.6 clear of Pat Long.
Yeah.
Same team.
Yeah.
You'd have to think the setups are relatively close.
Yeah, it was big.
You talk about the depth of the competition when you see Cameron, Brown, Marcelli, Lally not in the top 10.
Yes, it's stunning. And you see Suchek and Parent 7th, and Soulé, as you said, 10th. That just gives you an idea. Yeah, that's just stunning. Yeah, just an incredible run here as we're into the final 3. Cameron's still out. Doesn't sound like he's on it though, Cal.
No, he's either done for the session or he's just trying to gap himself. I mean, I'm sure we've seen the perfect lap yet, but I just don't know if the tires will give it to you this late in the session.
I think that's exactly it. It's down to if he thinks there's tire on it, he'll go, and he doesn't. Right now, Werner is still out. Heading into turn 7, there's a look at the CrowdStrike DXDT entry. Colin Brown behind the wheel.
Yeah.
So Werner, Fuentes, and the Hublot Squadra Corsa Alpha Prime Ferrari still out. The 31 at Cosmo still out. And the 80 of Marcelli. But are they really going after it, or are these laps are going to bring it in?
That lap from Campbell is a statement.
Isn't it? That was superb.
And I tell you what, for R Ferry Motorsport, pole for Molina, front row for Vielander. They have the championship lead by 1 point. And the Bentleys, everyone thought that might be the car here. Well, guess what? Race 1, they're towards the front, but race 2, they got a lot of work to do. As we've seen, Greg, sometimes with these high downforce machines, making up a lot of places is not that easy, particularly with the level of competition that you're facing as well.
And this track is, because of the elevation and the like, it's not the easiest place to pass on either. So that adds to the challenges here, certainly. And remember, I mean, this is sort of mirroring, in a way, Circuit of the Americas, where the Bentleys in that first qualifying session were right there. I mean, swept it, basically. Second session, much deeper in the pack. They found a way to get some useful points, to be sure, but this is the car. It just seems to be consistent and quick everywhere.
Yeah, that's the benchmark right now. Just the consistency. You talked about it with the Ferrari and what it's able to do. It just seems to be well suited. Very rarely do we see this car struggle.
Great to see this program back in the GT3 category for Global Motorsports Group. James Sofronis. I think now he's, in terms of active drivers in this championship, hands down is the most starts of anybody in this series. Well over 200.
Too. He's run twice this week.
I know. There he is, foot up on that pit wall.
He'll roll off from the second row of the grid for GMG. Parent down in 7th position, 4th row.
This, you know, the Bentley, as glorious a machine as it is, long wheelbase, big car. You know, the agility here of some of the other cars. They did a lot of work on this next gen car, and it's far better in the slower, tighter stuff, but it's maybe not quite as suited to some others. And this is kind of an interesting swing of fortunes for the 43 real-time Redline Oil entry here, isn't it? With Hedlund putting it on the class pole in the first run, and Cameron struggling back in 11th overall, 5th in class.
Yeah, and I think he's only a few tenths up on the lap that Mike put together, so I'm not sure if they went for a big adjustment tire pressure-wise and it didn't work, or whether Dane just didn't get a clean lap, but curious to debrief with that group and see what happened there for the second run of the day.
Here is a look at second race qualifying. Again, this is the drivers on the right that did the qualifying. We'll start the second of the doubleheader races, which, by the way, will be live on CBS Sports as well as live on the web. So make sure you tune in on Sunday and watch it. But Campbell will lead away after just a mega lap in qualifying over fellow front row qualifier Tony Vielander, then the Porsches of Long and Werner for Wright Motorsports and Global Motorsports Group, and the Allegra Motorsports Porsche, the hands of Michael de Quesada, and then Skeen. Nice to have him back in this championship.
It really is.
Boy, did they find the right guy to replace Dial in terms of driving a Mercedes.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a shame not to see CRP competing
It is.
in the GT3 ranks again, and a shame that we don't see Mike skiing on a more regular basis. But, you know, whenever he's given the opportunity, he's up on the wheel and gives it 1,000,000% and great speed.
Think back to when he ran the Mercedes and Lone Star, that pass he put on at VIR to take the win. He's crafty, too.
He is.
So, well, I'll tell you, I think we've got the stages set for a couple of mighty compelling races here coming up in the Blancpain GT World Challenge America. First of which will be coming up this afternoon in about 2:35 or thereabouts. Again, with all of them, all 5 races that are going to be unfolding here will be live on the web. So, first race will be coming up at around 12:30, which is the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint 8th round of the championship, which has been some of the best racing of the season in that sprint category. Then the touring cars, then the Blancpain GT World Challenge America headliners will be out. Then the TCR TCA combined race, and then we wrap up with the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X race. So, yeah, let's get down again. Just a remarkable run in qualifying here, and in the second race, Ryan, the 91 will start from pole.
Yes, and Matt Campbell had to drive the car back to Tech, so we'll chat with his co-driver, Anthony Imperato. We were watching and were just so impressed with the level of commitment we were seeing out of Matt in the car. How about you guys watching the times come in?
Yeah, I think we were blown away by that lap. I mean, we saw the Ferrari go really fast, and we weren't quite expecting to see a time like that, 3/10 ahead. But amazing job by him. And the team really tuned on the car last night, and they did a good job. And like you said, that was full commitment. I don't know if there was much more in that, so great job to all of them.
Well, clearly great qualifying pace. How well will this Porsche keep the tires under it, though, for the duration of your stint?
I think the team knows what to do, and we'll manage it and do the right thing. So we're looking forward to the race.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Well, here's that interesting study. Thank you so much, Ryan. That interesting study that we talked about. All right, we've seen the one-lap pace. When you dial it right, you figure it out what you can do. We talked about it earlier. Winning a race here this weekend might well be self-discipline and running well shy of your top pace to make sure you don't run the tires
There's
out.
going to be some crossover. I mean, we see it with the mandatory pit stop, of course, where things can change. But I think we're going to see it within those, 40 to 50-minute stints that both sides of the equation have to do with the driver change midway through this race. 90-minute format, pit stop between minute 40 and minute 50. And it's a pretty tight pit window as well. It's only 76 seconds minimum pit stop time, Greg. And talking to the teams, it's about 45 seconds on pit lane. So that does not give you a lot of time. Get the service done, get the driver change done, get the tire change done.
Yeah, it's all going to be just absolutely crucial. First race will be coming up here on the web. The Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Race at 12:25 local time here. Pacific Coast time. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be a good one, and it's going to kick off an afternoon of intense racing. We'll see you then.